And so it is, beloved masters. Ego, a word that is bandied about all the time. Some people talk about their ego as though it is an enemy, and a lot of people wonder why their ego would try to kill them. Now, the ego is an aspect of the animal nature of humanity. You are divine creative masters, spiritual masters, having a human experience. And so it is. Through a number of lifetimes over the past several hundred years, there have been considerations from the church that the ego is such an evil aspect of humanity that it would be best if it were killed. The ego is like a 4-year-old, a very cunning, very wise, very wily 4-year-old, but a 4-year-old. And throughout lifetimes, this child, this innocent aspect in many ways, this part of you that is truly connected to nature, has been threatened. So imagine a small child living in a home where it overhears that the big people that are supposed to be caring for it are planning to kill it. And the child doesn't know where to go, so it decides that it must survive living where it is and being very alert, very on guard, very cautious about what the big people are doing. Over time, that kind of energy, it's all about energy, that kind of energy began to filter into the collective consciousness. And children many times were born fretful, having nightmares, worried, concerned about things that of course they couldn't express as an infant, but what they were feeling, remembering, was that instilled fear that this is not a safe place, this planet. Now, ego was created in the beginning to, yes, bring a little fear, to remind you that there are things in the physical world that could end your journey in physicality if you are not considerate. The knife, the fire, falls from high places, even combat, could all end the physical journey. And so the ego originally was simply to make you aware so that you wouldn't die the body before you accomplished what you, as a spiritual master, in a physical form had deemed to create. The afterlife is an aspect of higher consciousness, and the afterlife has always held wisdom, ideas, creations for the future, and shared them as best they could with those in physicality. Because there was such a belief in separation between those that are dead or in the higher frequencies and those who are on the earth, a lot of times it was very difficult for the higher consciousness to bring information about where is your life going? What are you here for? What is your purpose? Even though dreams might come, and after a time and a time, even the dreams were dismissed as things of fantasy. And it is the ego, in its cunning to preserve its own ongoing, its own life, slowly over time began to develop a protectiveness about my things, my family, my people, my goods, and that in its evolution has created a greater separation and polarization on the planet. And the ego works with its own system of checks and balances, creating fear in every direction. Do the right thing, the mind says, because you have been educated throughout lifetimes. And so you make a choice, and then it is as though you hear a voice within you that says, are you sure that's the right thing? Are you doing what they would approve of? And then the choice that you made that seemed to be so good becomes questionable. And then there is a fear that if you are who you really are, they, the sometimes identifiable and oftentimes the nameless, faceless, they may not approve of you. And it all comes down in these times of chaos, the latter days of the old order, as the illusions are blowing away in the wind. It all comes down to feeling so alone in separation, feeling so set apart from everyone else. And some people can create an illusion that they belong, but at the cost of the egos of others being envious that they belong. And other people develop in the illusion a sense of victimization. No one loves me. No one likes me. I am all by myself, and no one will accept me. And all of the control games on the planet are ways that the ego has devised to get enough energy to at least temporarily create a feeling, I belong, I'm loved, someone cares. But the control games that the ego has created, because the ego has always been out-focused, are all about getting something from someone else that isn't yours, or is yours but you don't have it, and so you've got to go and take it back from someone else. Take the affection of a love that has been lost back. Get them back. Get your money back. Get your power back. And so the crescendo in these times of the chaos that has been liberated by the end of the illusion. The energy of the illusion was rather dull and slow-moving. The ego could make several decisions before something finally took place, if it ever did. But once the illusion was ended and you began to function in real time, things are happening with what apparently is unleashed chaotic volume. And yet it's still all about the power games of feeling loved, admired, appreciated, considered. A gunman goes into a public place and simply begins to kill people, apparently at random. There are no accidents. A lot of the things that are occurring now are balancing of old karmic patterns that did not get balanced in the illusion. And as the energy is accelerating, things are coming more and more to center, even though they appear to be swinging wildly in all directions. You are being called to come to center. There is a polarization on the planet, and certainly the current events of these times are exaggerating that polarization. People are taking sides. One side says the other side is inherent evil. It is attempting to take all the power and leave nothing for anyone else. And the side that is being so accused is looking at the other side and saying the very same things. The fear around money and how the ego plays that game of energy. It's all about energy. And as you listen to our talk, you may say, this is all very confusing. And that, beloved master, is one of the primo control games that ego uses. Confusion. It distorts and distresses and deliberately divides, and people feel confused. And they're looking for things to make sense. So they look for logic and practicality. And logic and practicality can be like life preservers in the midst of a vast ocean where you have no points of reference, no landmarks, and no real assurance that you're going to get home. Because all of these things that I've been talking about are looking outside of yourself, looking out into the world, looking for someone to love me, to prove to me that I deserve to be loved, looking for someone that will help me financially, looking for something to make me feel safe, connected, belonging. And the fear builds. And people fight the fear. So, dearly beloved masters, when the fear comes and you begin to feel progressively more and more frightened, rather than attempting to get away from the fear, invite it in. And the same ego that is bringing you the fear just screamed from off stage, "Are you crazy? Invite the fear in?" Yes. Because whatever you fight, you give it your power. When you invite it, then you are in a place not only to keep the power you've got, but to take the power the fear is bringing you. Yes, I said that, and I meant it, and I'll say it again. Take your power from the fear. So, fear comes, and you invite it, accept it as a messenger. And the message that fear brings you is, there's power here. The power has always been there. And you have been very carefully educated throughout lifetimes to fight the negative, the dark, the fearful, the evil. So you have operated through eons of time on half of your power. Fear, anger, frustration, the need to make conflict, all hold a piece of your power. So when you don't fight the fear, then spirit can extract from the fear, like a spiritual cracking plant, that piece of your power that the fear is carrying. As you allow yourself to accept that piece of power that was trapped in the fear, you feel stronger. You feel stronger, and yes, the ego may feel a little bit more afraid because you just got some of your power back. It may have appeared to be only a modicum, but you just got some of your power back. Your power. You didn't take it away from someone else. You didn't shout in their face, "I am tired of this and I want my power back," because they really can't understand. They know the words you're saying, but they also know inside of themselves they don't have your power, even if you think they do. In fact, believing that another person has your power is a power giveaway. Demanding that they give you your power back is an illusion. So every time you feel fear, anger, frustration, and you want to move into fight mode, stop. And embrace the fear. Welcome the messenger. And ask that ego be comforted as spirit extracts the power from the fear. With each piece of your power that you reclaim, you are stronger, because the power you're reclaiming from the fear is your connection to Source. The fear is an aspect of illusion. The more power you accept, the stronger you get. And yes, the ego may want to convince you that you're not powerful, that you don't have what it takes to be a master. But if you consciously, consistently keep retrieving your power from the fear that the world is holding, you diminish the fear, you reclaim your power, and you will more than likely come to a point where you have a realization that the ego feels trapped, caged, painted into a corner, limited, like an animal that has been confined, and the ego still wants to fight its way out. But the strength you have gained from accepting your power back allows you, like a horse whisperer, like a dog whisperer, to be with the ego and to feel your dominion, not power over, but the love that you are gaining by reclaiming your power causes you to be so strong that you can be with your ego like a wild animal and talk to it, comfort it, assure it consistently, and to begin to educate, discipline your ego in such love that rather than being a pedagogue or a tyrant, the ego becomes a willing servant. And the love flows from you to that ego child, that animal nature. And you don't hate it or despise it because you can't control it. You love it, and you consistently demonstrate in the power that you are reclaiming from the fear that you are willing to protect the ego, not hide it away or make excuses for it, not defend inappropriate activity, but truly love the ego, the animal nature, for that part of you that has been so powerful in the illusion. And you begin to move energetically into higher frequency. And the ego fighter, in dissension and confusion, that could not have come along with you into higher frequency, is now embraced as an aspect of your nature in love. It isn't wicked. It isn't evil. It simply was afraid that there would not be enough of anything good for it. And as you assure your ego that there is plenty, and when the ego wants to use its old games of separation to make you feel loss, then, beloved masters, the power that you have gained from the fear allows you to assure the ego with a steady, clear energy. We are safe. I am safe. And because, beloved ego, you are a part of I, you also are safe. And the ego becomes a beloved servant rather than a tyrant, a dictator, a dominator, a warmonger.